Is it time to panic? Is it time to pull your money out of the bank? Is your money safe? Will there be another Great Depression? All of this is good questions to ask because we see banks failing right around us. Are we worried that our bank is going to fail? Let's discuss some of these things, and hopefully it's not time to panic. Hopefully it's time to gain some wisdom and see what we could do for our families to give us some ease and lax maybe in a crazy volatile time in our world. This is going to be a great video, and it starts right now.
About to leave, already packing.
Hey guys, welcome to the Max. I cannot stand time change because look, instead of you sitting watching a sunrise, seeing the animals move behind you, you see darkness. So I'm sorry, I'm filming in the morning, so I can't help that. Hopefully there will be some sun that comes up in this video. So why am I making this video? Why are we seeing bank runs? Why are we seeing banks collapse? And can we do anything about it? That's a big question that we all need to ask ourselves because we all have money. We're all invested in the economy in some form or fashion. You depend on money coming in. You work for someone, you own a business, you have money in the banks. You're affected by that. You have stock in the stock market. You have your retirements in the stock market. There's a lot that hedge around what the economy is doing. Sadly, I'm just gonna put a spoiler out there. You will be affected by anything and everything that goes on when it comes to the economy. You can never hold yourself away from the economy in whole because we're so invested globally. We're so invested in America. We're so invested in, we have debts, we have people we owe, we have utilities we have to pay, we have taxes we have to pay. All that's intertwined. So we will be affected even more than I think what we saw in the Great Depression. That brings up a good point. How did the Great Depression start? How did we see a major economic downturn? Well, we saw that in 29, there was a decrease in industry. There was jobs failing. There was a downturn. There was already a recession going on. And then you started seeing more financial issues. You started seeing banks collapse. Now, fast forward, and that was in a nutshell. There's a lot more to the Great Depression, I understand. But we're starting to see some of those same trends now. We see tech industries falling to pieces. We see banks collapsing. We see inflation like nobody's business. And the problem with inflation is the fact that we're raising interest. The fact of inflation keep rising and the fact that everything's costing us more. The fact that we've got a debt in America that's so big, there's no way to kind of get on top of it. You're gonna see the Fed keep printing money to cover these banks and these bailouts. But the problem is, it's gonna make your inflation go even more up. Well, that's a sucky way to think of it. I mean, that's really bad because ultimately that doesn't give us any encouragement in our own dollar bills. So there's two forms of thought. First is, are we seeing this downturn and is on purpose to move us away from cash? Because remember, if we have a digital currency, we can't run to the bank and pull our money out. There's no such thing. Secondly, if it's not that, then why are we printing more money to cover banks and not letting them fail? Well, the reason of that is because if you see 2 or 3 banks fail and people can't get their money and it's not bailed out, which I'm not saying I'm for or against, I'm just saying if you start seeing that, then we lose trust in the banking system and therefore you're gonna see everybody make bank runs. Now, remember, this is how the banking industry works. They don't keep your money and all their depositors, it doesn't stay in their vault in the bank. This is not old school. This is not where we're waiting on the covered wagons to come get the funds to then turn around and take to wherever it's gotta go. Your money is pretty much gone by the time you put it in. If everyone in our local town, in our small little town said, I wanna go and get half my money out of the bank, I doubt any bank could do that because none of the money is kept there. And the money that they are getting in deposits and the money you trust them with, they're turning around and they're reinvesting to make money for the bank. Now, no matter if that's a broke system or not, that is the system that we have. So inevitably, you're gonna see a fall of a dollar that will cause a major catastrophic situation, or you're gonna see banks get bailed out by the government and then turn around and cover you, FDIC. The problem I have with either one of those situations is it's not really good for you as the consumer. You're either gonna lose the value in your money and the independence and freedom of a decentralized currency or having cash in your wallet to buy things, or you're gonna see a situation where The government is going to keep bailing out these banks, and you're going to have all this money. You're going to have all your cash, but it's going to be worthless, and you're going to be able to wipe your butt with it because it's going to be worth just about as much as what your toilet paper is. Because if we keep on printing, inflation will go up, and therefore the dollar won't be worth anything anyways. So then what is the answer? I mean, so far, Monday's video has pretty much been a drab and really depressing to watch. Well, let me tell you what I think and what we need to start doing and making sure we are keeping our money and our cash and our assets safe. This is just me personally. I'm not advising you in any way, but this is what I think you should be looking at. A few things. First of all, don't have all your eggs in one basket. Don't have all your money that you've personally made put in one financial institution. I think that's dangerous, no matter if it's a national or local bank. So therefore, you need to spread your funds out. If you like putting money in the bank because you don't trust keeping a lot at home, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But be smart with that thought pattern. Put some in a local federal credit union. Put some in a local bank that you know that these people are invested in your community. If you have a regional bank, that's okay too. If you trust a national bank, I personally don't. I don't have any funds in any national bank because I believe they're looking at me as just a number. They're not looking at me as Colby. So therefore, I choose not to put my money in a national bank. But what I am saying is you got to spread your money around. You can't keep it all in one bank, because if all of a sudden you keep it in one bank and one bank does have an issue and a hiccup, it doesn't matter if the bank is FDIC insured and that you're going to get your money back. That doesn't mean you can get your money back today. It may be a week or two or more. It depends on what the situation is and how bad the financial institution went under and what else is going on in the world. So if you want control of your money, first and foremost, and you want to keep it in banks, you have got to spread that around. So for instance, me, I may have some in a local bank that I believe the people. I go to church with the CEO of the bank. I trust them. So therefore, I keep a portion there. Now, another portion may be in a regional bank that I've done business with in the past, that they're from this local area. They have not sold out. They're just part of a little bit bigger community-style regional bank. Then we have a local federal credit union that I may keep some in too. So therefore, say for instance, you were keeping 6 to 12 months of income or a portion of your income, maybe 10, 15, 20%, maybe 25% of your money in these banks. Personally, I'm not going to keep 8% or more of all my value and worth in the banks. I'm sorry. I just don't believe in that because I want to be able to tangibly know my money is safe. So putting in the bank and putting 50% or more in the bank probably is not the wisest. But if you are, make sure you are definitely spreading it out. Watch your values and make sure you're spread between all of those. That way, if all of a sudden this bank goes down, you can run to the federal credit union, have those funds available just in case you need it. Also, same way with the regional bank versus the local bank. Remember, it's all about trust. So if you know the bank presidents or the bank loan officers, or you know the people that are in charge, that does tend to give you a little bit more ease. However, if you don't know the financial strength of that bank and you can't talk to any leadership in that bank, why do you want to trust them with your money? So I go back to national banks. I can't call a bank president of a national bank. I'm just not that important, and I'm never going to be. So therefore, if I'm not anything of value to that bank, why would I want to put my money there? Don't keep your monies in these big national banks. I think you are very much wrong for doing that. If you've got a loan with them and it's a great rate, then you've got to pay out your loan and they got to keep their deposits there. Understand that. But learn to negotiate with smaller banks and say, look, I want you to have my business, so therefore, what can I do to put more money in your bank? How strong is your bank? Ask those questions because you need to know that you can trust this bank. When you're banking with these banks, you need to have access to your funds. Make sure you have a debit card. Make sure there's no limits on your debit card. I know they'll say it's for anti-theft limits and things like that. Make sure you have a good limit there to where you can access it if you need it to be accessed. Make sure you have checks to all those. Make sure you have debit cards to every account. Now that's still not the answer, but if you're going to keep all your money in the bank, you need to make sure you have access to it, not just Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 at banking hours. You need to be where you can get to those ATMs. Now let's say if you're not keeping your money in the bank, where does that go? So I have no problem with you keeping cash. We've talked about keeping cash 3 to 6 months at least, if not more. Now I keep a little bit more than that because I believe in cash, not because I believe cash is always going to be there. It is a form of a decentralized currency still, because we can utilize it without everyone knowing what we're purchasing or what we're doing with it. So I think you need to find value in putting some cash up, because then you can control what you purchase and what you don't purchase based on your relationships and the trust with the individual that you're doing business with. So keep a portion in cash. Now, what is something else that we can invest in? Where is somewhere else we can put our money? Well, if you're in the stock market and you've seen your value go down, you need to be looking at putting a portion of that maybe into gold. I like Genesis Gold. I like other gold companies too, but you need to find value in saying, let me move 5 or 10 or 15% of my money into gold, into physical gold. The value of gold is always going to be there. Now, does that mean it's always tangible? No, but neither is the money that the bank just turned around and lost that you were supposedly having there to be able to grab out when you needed it. So, like I said earlier, you will be affected by any and every bank closure or recession or depression that we go through. The solution though is you want to spread yourself around to where if that basket of eggs bust, yes, it hurts you. You can deal with that basket and you can clean that mess up. You have several other baskets full of eggs. So be smart when you come to spreading your money around and finding value in putting money everywhere you can, as cash, such as other banks or federal credit unions. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can't just physically take that out because you're penalized. So if you're not going to do that, then maneuver some of that into gold, precious metals. Maybe put it in a money market account for right now, so therefore it's not losing money. You know, when I was a kid, the big push was, well, if you learn to invest when you're 18 and 19 in your 401k and you start doing 15% a month for all your life, when you get to 55 to 65 and you want to retire, you will be a mega millionaire. Say, for instance, you were half wrong. You would be a millionaire still because your value had been up, it's compounding, it's growing. Well, in a perfect world, that makes sense. And there's still times where economic downturn makes for people to get into the market and be very opportunistic and make money too. So I'm not pushing against any of that. But the time where everything's just going to go back to where it is and everything's going to always grow and be better, I think it's over. Here's why. Our debt is bigger as a nation than it's ever been. We're not stopping spending. We're printing more and more. So we're not able to do the things like go up on the interest rate because we can't afford the debts to the countries that may be calling our loans. Is that real? Can that happen? Yes. I hear all the time that the United States is not going to fall because if we can control printing more money, then we'll never default. Yeah, but again, if we never default and we just keep printing money, again, the value of your dollar is going down each and every time they print more money. Interest is helping curve inflation. However, if we can't afford the interest payments because our stupid government keeps spending more money, and that's both sides where they spend more money that we don't have in order to get your votes, they're career politicians and not term limited politicians, therefore your dollar value is going to always be manipulated based on inflation and interest. So okay, you ask, well, if our money is not safe in banks, or a portion is. Well, our money is safe in cash, well, a portion is. Well, we like precious metals and it hedges against inflation. However, we can't just spend gold and silver for a loaf of bread. Those are all good points. Am I invested in every one of those? Absolutely. Now, what's some other options? You have to be the product. And what I mean by that is you have to build skills to be where when something goes wrong, if we see another depression, if we see another economic downturn, are you going to bring value to your business? Are you going to bring value to a skill set? Are you going to be able to provide something for your neighbor? You have to be an asset. So therefore you have to invest in yourself. You have to find out ways that you can build skills to then turn around. When something goes wrong, you still have a way to eat because you are the skilled asset. You are the asset that's going to bring value back to your home and your family. If I can bring value and product back to my family, then I can feed my family no matter what kind of money I have because I'm a bartering asset. So we have to be productive. We have to find ways to bring value to ourselves. Not only that, we have to produce something that's going to bring value. Are you producing your own food? Are you producing eggs? Are you producing chicken? Are you producing cows? Are you producing milk and butter? Are you doing things on your land or at your home that will be valuable? Are you making certain things where you can sell and be able to barter and trade and have food? All those are very good points. So if we're talking cash, cash is king, and we're going to keep cash. Cash goes down. You have money in the banks. Banks close, bank runs happen, and you can't get your cash. Well, the next valuable thing is bartering and trade and commodity and products. We become all those things. We make ourselves worth something to bring value to someone else. If it's simply fixing something and being a mechanic, being a welder, being a carpenter, if we're able to do that, then they can maybe pay us back with something like food, or they pay us something in value to then turn around and let us barter for food. Well, you know, I live in the South. I live in a very rural community. We heard back years and years when people were in the Great Depression from our grandparents and great-grandparents. Most of them did not even know there was a Great Depression going on. However, because they were raised on farms, they were producing their own food, they never had tons of money anyway. They didn't feel the economic pressure because they could provide for their own food and bartering their community, getting things traded out and serving together as a community. The people that felt it more were the people who did not provide for themselves, with people who were all invested into the markets. So people who live in cities, you guys who are watching, you live in urban and suburban areas, you have to find a way to be productive. You have to find a way to stockpile as much as you can, because you're going to be affected way more than people like us that live in these southern areas. Now, will we be affected? Absolutely, everyone will be. So you have to find value, either a product you provide or something that has some bartering and commodity worth. We talked about this with grains. You need to have grains, you need to have salts. I think you think that's crazy when I say that, and people say, oh, that's never going to happen again. We'll never trade and barter ever again in our community. We're too advanced. Don't believe that. We could easily get put back in a situation where currency and commodities kind of run hand in hand, where we find value in food and grains and things that we can tangibly hold that's not just paper goods. So precious metals are one of those. But say, for instance, grain. Can we find value in grain? Can we find value in putting those kind of things up? Because someday somebody's got to eat. Someday somebody's got to plant. So if you have some of those things, that's going to be a game changer for you. So if you live in the city, you need to start stockpiling some of those things. So you have to find ways to be productive. You have to find ways to produce product. Take your money and buy things that have bartering assets and bartering value. Commodities is key. So let's recap. We've talked about diversifying your money and putting it across banks, keeping it out of national banks. Put it with people you trust, because that is the purpose of the banking financial institution, trust. Now, it's a broken system. We know that. You're not going to fix it, and you will be affected by any bank runs that happen, because that is the nature of the beast. They lend your money out. Your money is not sitting in their bank. So you need to make sure you're spread across several banks. Also keep some cash. Make sure you have some cash. Have 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, whatever you and your family decide. This is a husband-wife situation where you work together and say, we've got to do this, and make decisions based on what's best for us. You need to have some precious metals. We talked about that. Either physical gold, silver, and things like that, or you need to be able to move some money over, maybe from your portfolios, into something safe like money markets, or to precious metals such as gold and silver. Genesis Gold is linked below. You can check with them, and they can help you there. I'm not saying a big portion, but a portion. All these things will be affected with bank runs and a depression. All those things will be affected. No matter which way you look at it, those eggs in those baskets will struggle. So then what is the answer? The answer is assets. The answer is products. The answer is ourself, our skill set, our bartering capabilities, our personal way of productivity. We have to find value in that. If you can't own livestock, that's okay. Maybe you can partner with somebody that has livestock. When it comes to the situation with money, we have to learn to trust someone else. And if you're going to trust the bank, then why can't you take that money and trust the farmer, who y'all can own a piece of property together? Maybe you can buy a piece of real estate together and you can farm it together. Cooperatives and people doing these kind of shared agricultural endeavors that's not a bad thing. I think we're going to have to move back to that situation where we understand how valuable the community or the village is to taking care of our families. The Amish do it the best, I believe, is they work together. You may have one that's the best grower, you may have one the best farmer, you may have one the best butcher, you may have one the best carpenter, but they work together as a community. That may be what we look to go back to. Now, if you don't know any skills, you better start learning some skills, because if you don't know skills, then you bring no value to the table. If you're not a carpenter or a builder or a welder, you better know herbal medicine. You better know how to grow something. You better be a doctor or a nurse. Sometimes things are not going to bring value if we see another depression. So who are you going to rely on? Well, if all your eggs are crashing in all these baskets, then you're going to rely back on the government. The problem with relying back on the government is because they can manipulate you. If you need something so bad, then you're willing to give up so much of your freedom. So all this plan, all this bank runs, all this financial talk, it all goes back to one thing: trust, independency, and sufficiency. We have to trust where our money is. If we can't trust where our money is, then we can't dependently put our money where it is, so we have to be independent. If we're independent, guess what? Then we have to be more sustainable. So is another crash coming? Is a Great Depression coming? Is more bank runs coming? Maybe, maybe, and maybe. Eventually, it will take place because we can't keep printing money. We can't keep giving our money to everyone else, and we can't keep living in debts like we're doing personally and also as America. If you read about the months before the Great Depression, we're seeing a lot of those characteristics happening now. So you need to prepare yourself, diversify your money, take care of your money, invest in assets, invest in yourself, and find skills to be able to be value to the community. Commodities, food. Make sure you're doing all you can. You need to get out of debt. I'm telling you, get out of debt, because the more the debt is held over your hand, the more you're a slave to that lender. So please do not trust debts. Do not trust every bank. Do not trust everybody else. You have to start investing in yourself. So is it time to panic? No, but it is time to be real and get with the program and understand that there are times like this coming. There are going to be more trying. Is a depression coming? We don't know. But prepare like it is, so therefore when it comes and it does affect one of your baskets of eggs, you still have several other baskets of eggs to work through. Gain wisdom, seek guidance. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.